let me ask you a question. You know this guy? You know him, right? Right? Well, you should also know this guy then. What? You don't? Alright, well, let me introduce to you Bakudan Otoko, the first Bomberman. Bakudan Otoko, or Bomberman, was released for the NEC PC 6001 Mark II, MSX, ZX Spectrum, or ZX Spectrum I guess, and other Japanese computers that have really long names in 1983. I was going to emulate the original NEC PC 6001 Mark II version, but I'm getting this stupid fucking error, and since I can't find a solution, I'm shit out of luck. So I'm going to be playing the MSX version. A few things I found kind of interesting is that there is a rumor of this game being called Don Pepe y los Globos in Spain regions, which was a rumor. If you really want to look like an idiot and prove people wrong, there is Pepe y los Globos, but without the Don, which isn't really the same thing. And don't be a whiny bitch now, because there's actually a game called Don Pepe y los Globos. Yeah, I have no fucking clue what this is either. And while finding a working ROM of the original Bakudan Otoko, I found this interesting thing about its sequel, 3D Bomberman. It's a Brazilian bootleg of, well, 3D Bomberman, called Demolidor, if I even said that right. As much as I want to get that game working, my emulator refuses to load it for some reason, so maybe I'm missing some dumb shit which I can't be bothered to find right now. Last thing to know is that there really isn't a plot to this game. I'm sure there is a story in the manual, but this game is more like Pac-Man, which doesn't really have a story. But it makes sense since this is a computer from the early 80s, so it's not really gonna blow your dick off with the graphics or story. The story for Bakudan Otoko is that you're just a dude killing balloon monsters to defend yourself in a maze. The European version actually changes the story. This time you're an archaeologist called Eric fighting off floaters, and you're finding hidden treasures. Speaking of which, holy shit, look at the European box art. This is fucking terrifying. It isn't even close to what the enemies look like in-game. So this is the title screen. That's the only difference between the Japanese and the European versions, by the way. The rest of it is literally the same. Oh, and I guess here's the Pepe los Globos title screen, along with the Japanese and European ones. The original version of this game actually had a voice saying Game Start, Treasure, and Game Over. And this voice isn't really in the other versions though. This game was also more focused on you looking at the facial expressions of the balloons instead of the color, like the ZX Spectrum version, compared to the MSX and earlier versions where you had to pay attention to the face more than the color. I'm also not very good at it. I don't know if it was always like this or if it's my emulator, but it's hard to control Eric or Bomberman or whoever the fuck this guy is supposed to be called. To move, you can hold down the arrow key or tap the arrow key as well. But it's really laggy and I can't tell which one's better or worse. After 3 rounds and a shit ton of luck, I finally get to a bonus stage, or what the game calls a bomb auto setting stage, which just places all your bombs in one go, at least in the MSX version, since I believe this isn't really in the other versions of the game. There also really isn't an end. You just play until you fuck up and get a game over. And speaking of game overs, look at the death animation. Holy hell. His head just falls off and you can see him just being shocked about it. It's not like the other games where you just blow up. Anyways, you know how in the other Bomberman games you can increase your bomb and fire range with power-ups and shit, right? Well, too bad, fucker. You only get 5 bombs and 2 fire range. That's all you'll ever have. You can find treasure if the block you bombed has it, which is random, by the way. It only increases points though, so if you're a points guy, go for it, I guess. There is also the exit door, but want to take a guess at what it does? That's right, it doesn't take you to the next level. It just repeats the same one, but with a different layout. What the fuck kind of stupid design is that? Why is it even there in the first place? If you bomb either the treasure or the exit door, more enemies spawn, which is fucking awesome if you have one more enemy to take out. 2 final things to note is that you can walk through your own bombs and so can enemies, which you would need a power-up to do so in the later games. Although this means you can't hide behind your bombs after you place them down, unlike in other games. And you can also run out of time, which is pretty obvious. This removes soft blocks though, so you're kind of fucked since, again, you can't hide behind your own bombs. There isn't really much else aside from the basic stuff, which laid out the foundation for the rest of the Bomberman series, which I'm kinda glad for. What was just a simple game at the start, it became a big deal and is still going today with 2023's Super Bomberman R2, which I'll let you be the judge of how that game turned out to be. During my investigation to find out more stuff about this game, there's also actually an obscure remake made by this guy on itch.io, or itch.io. It's pretty cool that someone cared enough to remake this game, and it seems based on the Z or Z Expectron version due to the lack of faces. I mostly made this video on this game just because I don't see many people talking about it. It's understandable why, but it's the first game in the series, so I figured it should get a little bit more recognition. I've seen so many people talk about the NES game as the first in the Bomberman series that I figured that people should probably know where his true origins actually come from, and not the third game in the series. If you learned something from this video, then that's pretty cool. And if you didn't, then that's pretty cool. And if I can get this second game to work, then fuck it. Why not? I'll make a video on that as well. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.